But Anakin, he thinks the exam's too easy. So he decides to create his own exam, which was basically putting her in the kill box circle of the 501st. And she starts out doing pretty well, and then Jesse shoots her.
Doing pretty well. She doesn't last more than half a minute.
No. I meant the first one. Her first try. Her first try, she was doing really well, and then Jesse shoots her and knocks her out. And from then on, downhill. And for one,
I completely disagree. She did not handle that first trial well at all.
No, I mean the first attempt of the trial was good, and then it just goes downhill from there.
I don't agree. I think that first one was just...
Yeah,
it was clear that this was a step up from the previous trial.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I'm thinking, like, when she first went in, and then Jesse shot her, and then she's like, I was out for an hour, because then it went downhill from there. Her confidence was destroyed, and she just succumbed to so much. But she kept going, and getting better and better. And for one, the fact that the clone that's shooting her is Jesse is important. Jesse is an important clone. Keep him in mind if you watch Clone Wars. It's important that he's the one that does it.
Yeah, but what ultimately turns the tables is the speech that Anakin gives to Ahsoka, being that I'm pushing you this far because I don't want to lose you in the battlefield, because as a Jedi, we deal with life or death situation, and ultimately, that's what makes her last 5 minutes rather than 10 seconds.
Yes, and so we then, obviously, life and death, calling back to the first episode of the series, and then we flash forward about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. At this point, Ahsoka has now, she's now fully in her teens. She now dual wields her iconic lightsabers, as well as the fact that the 501st now are in their Phase 2 armor, meaning this is Phase 2 of the war. And so this time she goes through the trial on one of the Venator Star Destroyers, and she's doing really well.
Yeah.
But then Rex
shoots her.
Rex stands in. And that's important because she had gotten so accustomed to dealing with all the other clones, she didn't think about her best friend, Rex, getting in on it. Which is, supposed to be very symbolic about how Order 66 went down. The Jedi were so accustomed to fighting droids that the moment that the clones turned on them, and not just the clones, but the clones they trusted the most turned on them, completely off guard.
Yeah.
So you get all of that, which then leads to the final scene, which is Rex holding Ahsoka at gunpoint. I hope this training has paid off, to them opening a door to hundreds of clones.
So what I'm assuming, because of course my lack of knowledge of Clone Wars, this is a lead-in to a Clone Wars episode, am I right?
This is the lead-in to the series finale arc, The Siege of Mandalore.
Okay, I know enough Star Wars to know this is going to be a pretty big scene, so I'll hesitate on commentating anymore and just wait until I actually get to that in the series.
Once you've seen all of Clone Wars, you'll understand why I love this episode much. Also because Rex is my favorite character in all of Star Wars, so seeing him do good. But that scene specifically is not a redone scene. It's an entirely new scene because in the
I imagine how it goes is like we get the scene, the episode ends, and then right from there it cuts off, and then we get the scene from Clone Wars going forward. Correct?
Basically. No, it's more like there's a scene happening in one of the episodes in Clone Wars, it flashes to another perspective, and during the flash to the other perspective, the scene from Tales of the Jedi happens, and then the next scene happens right after that. Okay. When the two perspectives then come together.
Okay. I see it.
Yes. But I really loved it because it's about training, and basically the entire gist of this is that this will be the training that could save Ahsoka from Order 66.
Okay. So pretty much, this just serves as pure Clone Wars fan service, which it sounds like it did a lot for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's not supposed to be pure Clone Wars fan service. It's supposed to be how Anakin would have been the most prepared Jedi for Order 66. The overarching premise of this episode is that the Jedi are not ready for Order 66. That's the reason. That's what this episode's really about. And Anakin's preparing Ahsoka for Order 66. Even though he doesn't know what's going to happen, him training her against clones is what will protect her the most.
Yeah.
Compared to pretty much all the other Jedi in that room who don't see the attacks from their clones coming. Depa Billaba doesn't see it coming. Caleb doesn't see it coming. Plo Koon didn't see it coming.
Literally-
Obi-Wan didn't see it coming. The only one in the room that saw it coming was Yoda.
Yeah. Now it actually makes a lot more sense why Yoda was able to sense it. Not only because he's an older Jedi, but he probably has experience not battling just droids.
Exactly. He would be the most experienced at dealing with human targets that would fight against him, and thus he would be the one most attuned with the Force to detect when someone would want to shoot him. But all the other Jedi there, because that's not what they've trained to do.
Yeah. This just reminds me of how people were like in an uproar and like, oh, back when Rogue One was being made, oh, they're just making movies to fix plot holes, and like, no, these and now we're here and like at this point in Star Wars, and we're like, yeah, I accept all of this.
Yeah, at this point now you're just like, oh, like these are just answers to questions we've had in ways that are not forced.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't need an answer as to why Yoda detected Commander Gree was going to shoot him.
But it doesn't also feel stupid, like knowing how Han Solo got his name. That was stupid.
Yeah. This one was more like, yeah, this is how we do it. But also, despite everyone knowing how Ahsoka could live past Clone Wars, because she's in Rebels and in The Mandalorian, some people still had a hard time believing, like, well, how could she have been ready? Well, this explains it.
Yeah.
And so that leads to our final episode, whose name I can't remember, actually. It's the one I don't remember.
I
think
don't
it's
remember.
Whenever You Need Me or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Because it picks up right at the initial part of the episode, the funeral scene for Padme during Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So we see Bail Organa, we see Mon Mothma, and then across the way, Ahsoka's there. Which some people are like, why would Ahsoka be there? Blah, blah, blah. Well, it's because Padme was, 1, her friend, and 2, Anakin's wife. And yes, Ahsoka knew.
Yeah. So,
but
pretty much
important to note, she also thinks Anakin is dead at this point. Because most of the galaxy thinks Anakin is dead at this point.
Yeah. Pretty much what happens after we see the funeral is that we see how Ahsoka leaves.
No, they're on Naboo.
Naboo, okay. Yeah, how she leaves Naboo on her way to flee from the Empire.
Yeah, basically she wants to give up. The fight has lost in her mind. The fight is lost. This is probably... So, given the appearance of Rex and the Y-Wing in this episode, this is most likely right after the Siege of Mandalore. So, it's right after the Siege of Mandalore, which you will see why the Siege of Mandalore is a kerfuffle and a half. So she's coming back from that, and all the assumed trauma that then comes from Order 66 and the creation of the Empire. She's so beaten down, she wants to give up. But Bail Organa says, you can't. We can't afford to give up. We can't afford to give up and to be disconnected from each other. So please reach out to me if you ever need help.
Yeah.
And he gives her a
communicator
that she then keeps for years. The one thing I liked is now they've switched over to saying Imperial Orders. Because now it's the Empire. While we are seeing the familiar faces of the clones, they're actually stormtroopers now. They're not clone troopers. This is no longer the Republic.
Yeah,
this is the Empire.
Because quite literally, like in episode 3, we do see like we need to change this Republic into an Empire right out of Palpatine's mouth. So
exactly. So
yep.
We're now in the Empire. So then a couple years go by, and Ahsoka, she's on a farming planet. Which, by the way, this entire section was taken from the Ahsoka novel by E.K. Johnston. And so while there are a bit of discrepancies between this episode and the novel, as well as the latter part of Clone Wars Season 7 and the novel, Dave Filoni has said that think of this as just in comics and in books. It's not like the storyline died. Or, for example, like in the comics, you see the Knights of Ren before they ever joined the Forest Order. You're seeing the Empire-era Knights of Ren and how they're completely disassociated from the Sith and the Empire.
Yeah.
So, the stories are being told about other aspects. They are canon, they're just not TV or movie.
Which is very strange, because obviously the novelizations are there to serve, like, as, like, answering questions that you might have and also, like, further explaining, like, finite details.
Exactly. Even the novelizations of the are considered canon. In fact, a lot of people have said that the trilogy are some of the best novelizations, up there with, obviously, the number one novelization being the Revenge of the Sith novelization. Apparently, The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker novelizations are considered very good.
That's very strange to think about, honestly.
Yeah, no. Apparently, the sequel trilogy books are amazing. They're very well written despite telling the same story. They just have added details and better plot structures and is not motivations and builds the world and have good grammar and most people, they're considered, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Pariahs.
Yeah.
So they're not liked right now. The Jedi are not liked. So that's why when Ahsoka says the sister, she's like happy about it. She's like, it's our little secret. But she, you know, is loud. And so her douchebag brother overhears that Ahsoka's a Jedi. And he calls an Inquisitor.
Expecting, of course, that, oh, he's serving the Empire, thus and all kinds of recognition onto him when, his actions literally caused the village to be burned to the ground.
Yeah. Everyone died except for the sister who was with Ahsoka out of the town, the old man, and the brother. Everyone is dead because, surprise, surprise, you tell the Empire there's a Jedi, they're coming to kill everyone. And because Ahsoka wasn't there to protect them, the Inquisitor got his way. Fun fact, that Inquisitor is voiced by Clancy Brown, a.k.a. Mr. Krabs.
I'm sorry, I was not expecting that information.
Yep, the Inquisitor in this episode was voiced by the same man that voices Fire Lord Surtur in Thor Ragnarok. He voices, I'm forgetting the name of the character. He physically acts in, Law